Well, welcome back, and in this video I'm going to look at assigning a test to a class and how to do it and what that means for a class. I will later produce a video that I suppose is from the student side and demonstrates how they interact with it, which I think would be worth watching as well as you setting exams. But for the moment, we'll look at tests. So I'm going to go into my tests, I'm going to view my tests, and I'm going to assign the map locations test to one of my classes. Now, there's a couple of options down there. You can preview it, obviously. Sharing is where you share it with other colleagues. You can copy and, if you're looking at public tests, you can copy the public test and adjust it, amend it for yourself, but I've shown you that before. So let's go straight into assign test. Now, this is similar to the work you do when you actually create a test, but what I want to particularly look at is this format here. Okay, so I'll just assign this for the moment. And I've discussed some of this other stuff, but really it's this stuff here. Now, what this means is you can set an assignment or a test that a student does once and you collect the data and they don't do it again. You could run the test multiple times and just keep reassigning that test to a class, and that will be fine as well. This option here, 2 test assessment and learning, and then 3 assessment. So the 2 test is really setting up a before and after structure, if you like. So a student would do the test and they would score a certain value. Then the student gets asked to undertake some learning modules, and that's what this learning bit means. So what I'm going to do is jump out of this test assignment just for the moment and demonstrate where those learning modules come from. So I'm going to duck into questions and I'm going to view all questions. I might just, for this, not that one, might choose an English literature question as a demonstration. Okay, and I'm going to look at the poem, and inside the poem I get these learning activities. Now, when I showed you how to set up a question, I at that stage had skipped over the learning activities and how to put them in, but a lot of these stuff comes straight out of Scootle. If you look down the bottom right hand corner, down here on the contributor data, when I hover, it shows you a Scootle reference. And this is where the link between Scootle learning activities and the improve assessment come into play. So what we're doing here is, if a student, for example, has this question on an exam or a test and they get it wrong, when the student finishes that test, they'll get 5 out of 10 or whatever it is, and then they'll get some learning opportunities. And those learning, well, it's not opportunities because they're actually required to complete the activity. And by completion of the activity, all that means is the student goes in and looks at the actual link. It doesn't measure whether they work through the link, but that's for another time. The learning activities that are presented to the students come directly from here, from the questions that you have set and the learning work you have included at the question level. Now, I've been dialoguing through live support with the producers of the site. It appears that if I got 5 questions wrong and there were 1 or 2 learning activities in each of those 5 questions, that you could potentially have 10 learning activities associated with the 5 questions you got wrong. They think that you would only be presented 2 to 3 of those learning activities as a maximum. So time will tell on that one. I haven't been able to duplicate that just yet. So when you're setting a test, so I'll go back now to my tests and I'll assign my test to a class. So let's call it demo. Anyway, so that's what this thing does. So it provides a student an opportunity to do the test, to do some learning based on those resources you have provided or have been provided in the questions. And then once you've done those, the student is then allowed to do the test a second time, and those marks are recorded. Similar for the 3 test, and I'm just clicking on this thing. They complete the initial test, and then that can be repeated up to 3 times. So what will happen is that, I imagine what will happen is that the incorrect answers will provide you with some learning activities, and then if you do it again and you're still getting things wrong, it will provide you with maybe similar or maybe different learning activities from which are embedded inside the questions. Notice that when the student redoes the questions, the answers are randomised. So they're not in our multiple choice order that we would deliver, but it's randomised so that they're not seeing the same thing every time. That's what I really want to talk about in this one. Otherwise, having assigned a test, okay, so I'll assign that test. What you'll see on your dashboard is just that. So I'll go back to dashboard. And so what you see is I have 2 tests that are already in progress. That means a student has started that. And these are the tests that I've assigned but have not been started yet. Now, of course, an assignment notice would be sent via email if we include email addresses inside the student records. However, you could, of course, just run this in class. And the other thing then, finally, is that this test is given a PIN. And this is the PIN that you would need to provide to students. And when they log in, and as I said, I'll show you in a different video, they just need that PIN and their password, and that will automatically take them into this test. Finally, from what I can tell, you can't set multiple tests at the same time for the same class. But again, I'll clarify that at a later time. So I hope that helped. Thank you.